Today I'm going to show you how to do this card. A lot of people have been asking me from the website how I achieve that effect. And we're going to start out with using the Open C stamp set in the 2013-2014 catalog. And we have a piece of paper that we're going to start with, Whisper White. And in order to achieve this effect, we're doing a background. So in order to do the background, you need to stamp your images first and then mask them so that you can bray your background on and not disturb the image at all. So how I'm going to achieve that is I've stamped the image on a piece of typing paper. You want thin paper because you're going to be braying over this image. So I stamped the image on a piece of paper. I used a 1 3/4 inch punch for the moon in the background. And the sticky part of this is the two-way glue that we use. There's a lot of different ways to use this glue. That's a whole nother video. But one of the ways in which to use this glue is to actually just get a piece of paper and you can create a post-it note. And you just put the glue on wherever you want the image to stick. And then I'll blow it off because obviously I'll blow on it to make it less sticky because we don't want it sticking onto the card. We just want to have that tackiness so that we can make a mask. When you create masks for any image, take your mask and stick them on the inside of your stamp set. That way you always have them and you can create the card over and over again many times. So to start out, we got a piece of Whisper White, and I have to stamp the clipper ship first. So we're going to take Stays On, which is a permanent ink, and I wanted the permanent ink because I don't want it to smudge when I use the markers on this image. So I stamped the clipper ship on the paper at a little bit of an angle, and now I'm going to take the mask, and it's nice and tacky, we like that, but it's not going to stick on the image forever. And you don't have to be super perfect about cutting out your image, like there's little points of the flag and stuff that are going to show. That's not going to matter. That's okay. And then we're going to take our moon, and we're going to put that behind the ship, okay, and stick that on. Now when you're making these masks, you want the most glue around the edge of the mask because that's what's going to roll up when you're braying. So you want to make sure that's going to stick. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use Soft Sky, and I'm going to use a brayer. And Soft Sky is a very light color. And what we're going to do is we're going to ink up this brayer. Now you see I'm lifting the brayer up and down so that it gets the whole circumference of the brayer. If you just go back and forth, it's not going to ink up the entire brayer. It's just going to ink up from here to here. Does that make sense? So you want to lift this up and ink it up, and then you're going to start off on your paper and then start to bray onto your cardstock. Now when I do the braying technique, I always like to use two different colors. So you're going to go from a light to a dark color, always. Now in watercolor, they teach you how to watercolor. You always do your lightest colors and your lights first, and then you can add dark, right? You can't ever make something lighter, but you can always make things darker. So always think light to dark, and anything that especially if you're building a picture like this. Okay, so I'm going to just do it a couple of times, just kind of get that blue in there. And the paper, because of the way the mask is and because of the way the paper is, you're going to get these little streaks in. Don't worry about it. It's going to happen on every image that you do. That's just part of this type of art. Okay, so now I've got some nice background going in for this Soft Sky. And now I'm going to add just a little bit of Island Indigo, just to break it up a little bit. I like Island Indigo because it's a blue, but there's green in it too. So it just gives you both of them colors. And I know this is scary when you start using the dark color, but just keep braying and keep pushing, and you'll get the achieved effect that you want. So once I'm done with that, I would clean my brayer, of course, keep that going. People ask how many brayers you need. You only need one. Just keep it clean and you'll never have to buy another one. So now I've got a horizon line going on here. It's going back and forth. It's looking pretty good. But now I need to make the rough and tumble C part of this card. So how do we do that? Well, we're just going to take a piece of scrap paper and we're going to tear it. We want to have kind of like a mountain tear in it, you know, with valleys and peaks and things like that. Because a rough sea isn't just straight across or just has a couple of peaks. It's a rough sea. There's a lot of things going on in it. Then I'm going to take a sponge, and our sponges look like this when you buy them. So we cut them in quarters, and then we save them, and we designate 1/4 to every color. That's how we do it. And what I'm going to do is take the decorative label punch. I've already punched it out, so I didn't have to do it for you. And I'm just going to fold it in half, and this happens to be the same color that I'm using on the picture, the Indigo Island. I'm going to fold it in half, and then I'm going to squeeze it over the top of the sponge, take my stapler, and staple that down. Now I know that this is the Island Indigo sponge for the rest of its usable life. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of the color, and I'm going to just ink it up onto the pad. So now we've got some indigo color on there. And I'm just going to go across. Now remember, the ship is masked, so this isn't going to get on the ship. It'll be fine. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Now I want kind of that choppy look, so I kind of pounce to make that little choppy look, like the waves are being choppy, and just kind of cool looking. Now I'm going to take some of the soft sky, and we're going to use some of that color. Now I don't want the blue to, you know, necessarily mix with the soft sky. So this time I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to rub the color in because I'm going to add more color. And soft sky is so light that I just want to get that color in there so that it'll peek through the waves. Does that make sense? Give the picture some light. Okay, so we've got the soft sky going on there. Now what I'm going to do is, I think I want just a little depth there again. So we're going to do Indian, just a tad. Now the thing is, you don't have to bring these colors across the card all 3 times. You can just sit with the colors and, you know, put a peak of color here, a peak of color there. You don't need them to go across in a solid line all the way across like I did at the top. Okay, now I want to add some, for depth, I want to add some Night of Navy color. Well, the Night of Navy I want specifically in certain areas. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a dauber, and you see I've labeled the dauber. I got some labels. I think that they're Avery 4295, and I just labeled my dauber because, again, you don't have to buy a ton of daubers for everything that you do. And the reason I'm using the dauber is I want specific color in a certain place on my picture. So we're going to just put that color in. I want it pretty deep to make it look like the sea is just you know, having a fit. You know, that they got a storm coming in, you know, the moon pulls the tide and all of that. I don't know much about sailing, although my dad was career Navy, so I should know something, but not a whole lot. So I'm gonna pull that color into the end, and then see it kind of ends here. So I just want to make that look a little bit more believable. So I'm going to have that kind of fade into that color there. Then on the bottom there, I think I just want a little bit more of that soft color blue. So we're going to put some of that in. Woohoo! And remember, I am rubbing this color back and forth this time, just to give it a more solid look instead of the rough sea look. Good. So we filled that in. That looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. So now I'm going to take our new chalk marker that we have. I like the chalk marker for this particular card because it's not so opaque like our gel white, and I can make any kind of, you know, swirlies and squiggles and things that I want in the sea. Woohoo! And it's not going to pop out so much. So there we did. We made some tides going on in the sea. It's kind of cool, huh? I like it. So then we're going to take off the moon. There we've got the moon, and then we've got the ship, right? We're going to take off the ship. So very carefully peel the ship off, and there it is. Now the ship looks kind of sad, so I'm going to take some brown sugar, and I'm going to color in the bottom of the ship, and I'm going to do this pretty solidly, okay? So I'm going to just put that in totally solid, nice looking ship. Then the sails are looking kind of sad. So what I want to do with the sails is I want to put in a little bit of color, and I'm going to use that soft sky again. I just more want to, you know, hit some of the highlights so it's not so bright white, and that it sticks out a lot better against the moon. So we'll just, and the rule of thumb is whatever side you're going to pick the light on, then color the other side. So I decided to color the left side on all the sails, so stay with the left side. If you decide to color the right side with all the sails, stay on the right side. It's totally up to you. Okay, so then the last thing that I have to do is I have to mount my card on my Night of Navy cardstock. And so I would mount it on the cardstock, and this would be our picture. Thanks for watching. See you again soon. Bye.